Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes, I can see it in your smile, and I want to tell you so much. Welcome back to the channel. It is I, the J-Shot, ready to bring you another retro recap, this time of an event either called UFC 17.5 or UFC Brazil. Smack dab in the middle of UFC 17 from Mobile, Alabama, and UFC 18 in Kenner, Louisiana, the logical destination very obviously was
Brazil.
So onto a ship went the Octagon, probably. And with it went Jeff Blotnick and Mike Goldberg. Less likely, but not out of the realm of possibility in those days. Arriving in lush Sao Paulo, which Goldie says has a buzz from the UFC once again going global. We get a rundown of tonight's fight card. Middleweight champ Frank Shamrock Paper Scissors will be looking to avenge a loss from early in his career to this man, John Lober, a split decision at Super Brawl 3 that Frankie has been unable to relax about ever since. We'll also watch as the first ever UFC lightweight champion is crowned, or at least the first 170-pound champ. It gets a little murky around this time. Ooh, and some V-on-V crime as Vitor and Wanderlei will meet to determine who has the best berserker background in Brazil. Say that 5 times fast. Or don't. Your call. Speaking of the call, you'll never guess who the third man in the booth is. Or maybe you will. I really don't know how savvy you are at this kind of thing. It's Bas Rutten. At this point, El Guapo had completely torn apart the world of Pancrase, amassing a record of 25-4-1. 3 of those losses against the Shamrock boys, and 1 to Masakatsu Funaki.
Indeed.
Boss is in the building to get a first-hand look at the beginning of what the UFC called the road to the heavyweight title. Not to be confused with UFC 18, which would sport literally that exact name. Because Randy Couture had effed off to Japan, relinquishing the big boy's belt. So fights between Tsuyoshi Kohsaka and Pete Williams, fresh off the head kick heard round the world, along with the debuting Pedro the Rock Rizzo, who Izzo taking on David the Tank Abbott, are mile zero on said road. But without any further delay, it's time to let the pit bull out of his cage. I know that's the most overused nickname in MMA history, but when his actual name is Ebenezer, I mean, you kinda gotta. He's tough but crafty, mixes strikes and submissions well, and just like your friend who's never introduced you to any of his dates, he's comfortable with larger opponents. Jeremy Horn, coming off pushing Frank Shamrock to the limit, is his opponent. But while they are virtually identical, Goldie still hasn't busted out his catchphrase. Unlike Bruce Buffer. Wearing perhaps the exact same trunks, the two grapple immediately against the cage. Horn stifles any takedown attempt, despite being such an admitted puny girly man.
He said that you'd be amazed how little weight he is able to bench.
Clinching against the cage continues for about 3 minutes with barely any good striking before Braga brings it to the ground and capitalizes with a guillotine after Horn gets back to his feet. I get the sense Braga knew that if he stepped away, old Jeremy would shoot in and leave his neck open. It's either a brilliant game plan or incredibly dumb. But hey, it worked. Okay, climb in, buckle up, maybe give me some gas money as it's time we head out on the road to the heavyweight title. Pete Williams of the Alliance and Tsuyoshi Kohsaka from the Lion's Den will kick the pseudo tournament off and renew the rivalry between the two Shamrock camps. Or will they?
But we have learned in the last 24 hours that there is no blood. In fact, there's a lot of love and respect.
Okay, never mind then. Blotnick explains that when Big Brother Ken left real fighting for its predetermined counterpart, professional wrestling, not Pride, just to be clear, that left running the Lion's Den up to Frank, which was just too much for him to handle. Anyways, they're all friends, or at least don't hate each other. I mean, how can they? They're both submission fighters. And if there's one thing I know, it's
sticking together is what good
Submission fighter.
After a minute of feeling each other out, TK succeeds on a sweet hip toss and controls P-Dub from the top. It's a grappling match at this point. No punches thrown. Weird.
I said you can't strike on the ground. I meant you can't punch strike on the ground. You're allowed to knee and kick.
What the H? Good thing it's a Brazilian crowd. The first half of the fight is a grounded affair, and I can almost hear the boos that would have come out of the good old US of A had it been held there at the time.
Here in the country of Brazil, no kicks with shoes, but we won't see many shoes tonight.
Every fighter had a real decision to make. Go shoeless and keep the option to kick, or rock a sweet pair of kicks. We all know what Art Jimerson would have done. 12 minutes of regulation sees both men controlling their share of the action. Although Blotnick does say he thinks Kohsaka had the edge, which is correct, Goldberg says this, which isn't.
Big John McCarthy, our referee, a constant since UFC 3.
3 minutes of overtime consists of a minute of striking and then TK keeping top position for the remaining time, earning him the decision and keeping him on the road to the heavyweight title. But it's a much shorter road to the lightweight or welterweight title. Pat Miletich had recently won a tournament in that weight class, one which Mikey Burnett had to drop out of due to a broken finger. Time to find out who's the big man on campus. But not too big.
100% adrenaline, 1000% pure guts.
It sure is. Goldie says Mikey has a Tank Abbott-like style, and Blotnick talks about how although these are 170-pounders, Miletich has tangoed with the likes of Dan the Beast Severin, while Burnett's training consists of getting his hat handed to him by Ken Wayne Shamrock, meaning fighting a guy their own size will be a welcome change for our two combatants. The first minute sees Burnett attempt to end it early with a guillotine, but Miletich's superb defense, aka pulling his opponent's shorts non-stop, keeps the fight going.
A readjustment of the equipment to Mikey Burnett's shorts, and the crowd reacts.
When the action resumes, Burnett gets some wedgie revenge as Miletich keeps him against the cage before they go to the ground. Blotnick brings up Patty's 20-minute draw with Severin from 2 months ago, indicating the Miletich fighting system stifled the beast while admitting Danny Boy's limitations.
Severin's never been known for his striking.
He was known for his striking stash, though. While on the ground, both guys try their best to land punches. Yeah, I don't know.
What rules? Who cares? You guys care about the rules?
No.
Also, as this is for a title, instead of it being a 12-minute fight like the other ones, it's 15 minutes, and if needed, 2 overtime periods. Again, I don't know. Back to the fight where the rampant short pulling results in both the slowing down of any offense as well as the showing off of many ass cheeks. Right before regulation expires, Big John pauses the fight following a low blow by Burnett. Blotnick says if it goes the full distance, this could affect the scoring, which once again, I don't know. No discussion of a 10-point must system, so it's anyone's guess how the scoring even works. Either way, they go to overtime to continue yanking each other's drawers for 6 straight minutes.
This is the most that I have seen two fighters use each other's little bit of clothing.
It's a real hard one to call, so I guess it goes to the guy who didn't lose 1 whole point, and Pat Miletich is named the first UFC 170-pound champ and immediately sets his sights on bulking up.
If Frank wins, maybe they'll give me a chance to eat some cinnamon rolls and go up to middleweight and fight him.
All right, climb on in. You can even have shotgun. Back on the road to the heavyweight title we go. For whatever reason, they decided to use Tank's mugshot, but no matter. I can't see real good. Is that Pedro, Rizzo, or Nelly? Oh! The hometown boy gets a good reaction from the crowd, but surprisingly, so too does the lawless one. Maybe even more so. Can't blame the South Americans, though. They sure love a guy who can move some weight.
500-pound bench press. Sets of 4 115-pound dumbbell curls.
Just the glamour muscles. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Pedro is listed incorrectly as a pit fighter. And even though Tank has said in the past that it's a made-up concept, it's too late to call him something else at this point. All we know is
he has no love or respect for the martial arts or its practitioners.
Tank swarms and swings while The Rock backpedals and waits for his opportunity, which comes right at the 13-second mark. A beautiful shot floors Tank temporarily, and it becomes clear right away that unless he can land
What you might call the kaboomer.
Tank is in trouble. Rizzo is well-rounded, tough as nails, and conditioned far better than Mr. Abbott. He makes good use of leg kicks, avoids trading shots with the power puncher, and even flicks off a takedown attempt like it's nothing.
Rizzo has got Tank tired.
No, I didn't edit this. Yes, he did say that at the 2-minute mark. To be fair, Tank does get the fight to the ground shortly after, allowing him the chance to catch his breath, but he's unable to do much damage. Meanwhile, Rizzo plays the part of a power bottom, staying active, but not technically in control. BJ stands them up just before the 7-minute mark, and the clock keeps running, so they resume just after it. At this point, Tank looks like he could be knocked over by a gust of wind. And within a few seconds, he's rocked by the Rock and headed back to whatever bar stool he got off of. So we're at a fork in the road to the heavyweight title for now, with 2 stacked light heavyweight, aka middleweight fights left to go.
You've seen it both ways tonight. Vitor. Victor is the North American spelling. He is now Vitor Belfort.
The Phenom and the Axe Murderer. One is already established. The other, Goldberg says, is 3-0 reportedly. We'll take his word for it. Vandy bounces back and forth like it's UFC undisputed as Vitor makes his way to the octagon, bringing a different look than last time.
And a lot smaller than he was the last time we saw him in the octagon.
Shrinking down for a fight outside North America? Okay, so the opposite of the trend he'd be famous for later in his career. Wow, if we can't get Goldie's catchphrase here, when can we? You know what? Let's fake it. These two fighters are
Virtually identical.
That's better. You've likely seen this one in a few YouTube highlight reels. A very short feeling out period with both fighters trading shots before the Phenom charges forward, guns blazing, and gets the stoppage, which Wanderlei is not thrilled about, but I mean, it's pretty warranted. Okay, time for what is the main event. Yes, there's a title on the line, so it does make sense, but it sure feels weird after so many Hall of Fame names have already hit the showers. John Lober. They call him the Machine. But here he is doing an interview, and not once does he mention working for the Russian mob.
And then I'm going to let him get back up, and then I'm going to knock him to the mat again, and then I'm going to let him get back up, and then I'm going to knock him to the mat again.
Jeez, I'd almost rather hear that god-awful story again after that. After a couple back-and-forth shots, Shammy tries to catch Lober in a guillotine. This brings on an interesting defense, an attempt to climb the cage to escape. It doesn't work, but hey, can't hate him for trying, and you gotta like him for being kinda badass.
John Lober has an incredible tolerance for pain. He had his leg broken in a leg lock and never reacted.
Let's hope he got that checked out eventually. Shamrock keeps looking for the choke, which sees him go to his back where Lober tries to cut off his air before getting reversed. Lober isn't really outmatched against the champ. He holds his own pretty well, but it's obvious Frankie Boy has the advantage. He's in better condition and able to counter the Machine's striking at will. Some knees in the clinch lead to ground and pound, which gets the tap, unbeknownst to Goldberg, who thinks it's just a break in the action. As they say, it's all over but the crying, but in this case, it's all over but the gushing, as Bob Meyerowitz gives Frank his flowers and another belt.
I don't know what you're going to do with all these. You're going to have to hire people just to carry them in.
Why is there more than one? You know what? Never mind.
You better keep making these, Bob.
When asked, Shamrock says his game plan was to beat the crap out of Lober and make him submit. Mission accomplished. But now what? A fight with Vitor Belfort, I imagine?
Bring them on. Bring them all on. Nobody's going to beat me. Nobody.
All right, I guess we can look forward to a super fight between Frank Shamrock and Vitor Belfort next time, as neither of these guys are going anywhere. They are UFC for life. If you like this video, hit the button that says like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the button that says that. And don't forget to play all of these videos when you go to sleep and then restart the playlist once you wake up and leave for work. Really appreciate the support. But seriously, folks, thanks a lot for watching. I will check you next time. All the best.